Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World. Welcome back to the channel. What a game. 7 goals, chaos, young Cardiff City side showing some heart, some character. But my oh my, was there some terrible defending from both teams. And look, I'm gonna for this video I'm gonna focus more on the slightly more positive elements, and then we'll have a full deep dive breakdown this evening on the breakdown, which is obviously what it's for, and that's where we'll go into a bit more detail. We'll talk a little bit more about some individual performances and stuff. I'm sure I'll touch on bits, but yeah, here we go. So look, it was a game and a half, wasn't it? You know, this club is going to drive me into an early grave. It was stressful. I've got to say, one of my favourite moments for a long time was looking over when we scored our 4th goal, and my son was going fucking nuts because he's one. He doesn't really get up and go mad when we score. He just kind of sits and celebrates, but he was going proper crazy, so that was cool with his little stony jacket. But anyway, that's what it's about, isn't it? It's the future, yeah? It's ingrained in him now. It's tough. He's got it. But let's strap in. Let's go. 5 things that stood out. A few cautionary tales, perhaps. But number 1, nerves and anxiety. I think from the first whistle, you could sense there was a bit of tension around this line-up, the squad, in the stadiums as well. And I kind of predicted this a little bit in the shows towards the end of last week. When you've got an average age of around 22 going into most matches, and then the pressure on these types of big occasions starts to weigh. Look, I said to my boy after about 5 or 10 minutes, I said, our wingers and our fullbacks, they need to calm down. They look tense. They're sort of telegraphing passes, they're overhitting passes, heavy touches, just the little things that we're always so good at, particularly at the start of games. We just looked a bit tense. And then, of course, every heavy touch, every misplaced pass, there's a groan from the stands, and that feeds into the players' nerves. So, look, it is what it is. It's a vicious cycle, almost. But after 2 successive home defeats, the fans are going to be edgy, and that kind of rubbed off on the squad. And then, look, for the first 60, 65 minutes, our passing was slow and sloppy. The tempo was flat. But as the game went on, we did improve, and there was moments in the first half when we did move the ball quickly, or we moved it a bit more direct, and we got in behind, and we did create chances. But I definitely think nerves play a part. And then, look, in the big games, sometimes it's about just winning, even if you play badly, and I thought we did that. Although I thought that 65 minutes onwards, I thought we were pretty good. But that first hour was painful to watch. And I think the squad needed to, and look, they'll learn from that as well. That's the most important thing about this young team, is every game, every situation ends up being a lesson, and it'll be good experience as the season goes on, because there'll be more pressure games as the season goes on. So it's good for the young players to have to deal with that. Now, they also had to deal with mistakes today at the back, which they haven't really had to deal with a lot this season. So again, it's a learning curve, but I thought nerves and anxiety definitely played a part for some players in the first half. Number 2, against certain teams, I said this on Thursday's episode of the breakdown. Against certain teams, it's not a knock on the manager's philosophy if you change the way you play. It's not a weakness to change the way you play, or to change your tactics, or to whatever. Now, I thought we should have gone a bit more vertical and a bit more direct against Leyton Orient. Playing our normal game, much like Bradford, was always going to suit them. And most Leyton Orient fans, I spoke to someone who coaches at Leyton Orient yesterday before the game, and they said if Cardiff try and play out from the back and they try and do their usual thing, that's going to play right into our hands. Now, once Cardiff shifted a bit in the second half to go in a little bit more vertical, a little more direct and incisive, we created a lot more danger behind and around the Leyton Orient area. That transition to playing into the wingers or Ruben or Robbo a bit faster, and then let them release the runs and play off them, it did unlock the game a little bit for us. Now, I suspect that was the match plan, judging by what the manager said in the post-match, that they'd planned to be a bit more direct, and we just didn't quite implement that as well as we should in the first half. Now, let's not forget, Leyton Orient are no pushovers. I know that the league tables doesn't lie, but they were playoff finalists last season, and they came with quality and they came with structure, a good manager, but they've also got a couple of attacking players who were really good, like Aaron Connolly and Ballard in particular, were dangerous all game, and they put themselves about like they are not afraid to leave a shoulder in or be a bit physical. And, you know, we talked about them too in the preview, and Josh Corona was on the bench, but they did cause us some issues. But say looked lethargic, we looked sloppy in patches. But the work rate and the sheer passion for the badge and the refusal to lose the football match, that carried them through. And then some bits of quality then towards the end really shone through. And again, I'll highlight this for the manager, right? His bravery to switch the shape to 4-4-2, to bring off bring four players, that doesn't always work, but he got it right. He got the balance right. Ruben came more into the game in the second half by being a bit deeper and getting on the ball and playing some nice balls. Him and Dylan played some nice balls between the lines. David Turnbull gave us a bit extra on the ball as well. Thought he had a decent game. And Omari Kellyman obviously did very well. But those triggers, those subs, they not only played well themselves, but they opened up avenues for other players. Omari Kellyman's performance allowed Capacchio to get overlapping, which he wasn't doing in the first half. Same on the left side. Now, Joe Bagan had a difficult game in possession. But in that last third of the game, him and Willock really created a lot down that left-hand side. So, yes, it was lethargic and sloppy in patches, but the work rate, the passion was there. And again, I'd highlight, like I say again, the manager, the change of shape, the bravery, and the tactical adaptability, not just doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, because that's how you get found out by teams. And you need a squad. You need a subs and stuff like that. That flexibility, that courage, that's what turns stalemates into wins. And on the subs, that takes me nicely into number 3, right? On Thursday's breakdown, we discussed how certain players thrive from the start and then they struggle off the bench, and vice versa. This game was a textbook example of how subs are so vital. The game is running away from Cardiff a little bit. Omari Kellyman comes on, sensational, direct, skillful, creative, powerful, and I don't even think it's an argument. His best performance in a City shirt. He unlocked the Orient's defence, but also it was his set piece delivery. Their keeper decides to waste time on like the 69th minute, which was ridiculous. And I said to my boy while he was he was getting to his feet, I said, he's got to drop this right on the keeper now. And he does, and it nearly went straight in, or someone headed it and it was cleared off a line, but they were under pressure from that moment. But that also forced Omari Kellyman also forced them to readjust a little bit, which created space for Capacchio to become a game changer because he's got the pace to get him behind. And those combinations between the wide players and the fullbacks, that's where we started to get right in behind them. The midfield tweak, Turnbull joined Ruben as a midfield too, and they just dictated the tempo, allowed Ruben to conserve a little bit of energy because of all the running he does pressing. He was allowed to sit a little bit and still able to, carry the ball and link up and all the rest of it, but just from a slightly deeper starting point. And Turnbull, they both controlled the tempo really well and played some nice balls, nice little triangles, and they exploited the wide areas with their passing. Yusuf Salic, off the bench, scores a goal pretty soon after. But what I loved about Salic was, I don't know, some people might not have known, but throughout the second half, I would assume it was from the first half as well, the right back, who Chris Willock had a bit of a argy-bargy with, that full back, every time Willock was near him, was like smashing him in the back, pushing him in the back off the ball, and it was doing my head in because the fourth official was like right there watching it. The linesman's watching it and they're doing nothing, but he's clearly trying to get a reaction out of Chris Willock, smashing into him, and eventually Willock reacts. But Willock had the last laugh because what he did is he reacted, drew attention to it. They both got a booking. The fullback can't tackle him then because he'll get sent off, and he bought a foul off him a bit later on, which means he definitely can't make another challenge. And when they had I think it might be when the keeper went down, Salic and Robinson and Willock were all talking, and they were kind of in then because Salic was still a sub at that point, and you could see Salic was saying, when I come on, I'll take that. And he just took the hits. And his body language, Salic's yesterday, he was determined that he was going to have an influence on that game. And this was the first time this season I've seen him grappling, taking the hits, getting smashed, and he didn't care. And in my opinion, I don't know this as fact, but this is just how I saw it. He did that so his teammates didn't have to. Not once did he complain. He sort of pointed out to the ref a couple of times, but he wasn't getting frustrated. Great header for the goal. His link-up play was good. His attitude was spot on, and he made a massive difference because he created space for Robinson a lot because they had two players to mark. Now, we'll get to the 4-4-2 in a bit, but Will Fish as well came off the bench later on and just shored things up. Just does what he did, did what he does. Just big clearances, box headers, settled the back three or back five or whatever it was at the end, and him and Dylan Lawler have to be the centre back pairing for me. They just have to be. We were so secure, so confident with those two and Trott, and we didn't need to keep changing it, but it is what it is. And then lastly, it was really nice to see 2 goals from crosses and balls into the box, and a goal in the first half from getting in behind. It's just all real exciting, real nice to see that, because there's definitely been a thing about getting the ball in the box more and putting crosses in. I thought it was much better from that side of things, and we pulled the trigger a few times. Capaccio had a couple of shots, one in the first half, one in the second half. I think Bagan, we were taking shots. If we had sight, we took shots. A substitute bench with real firepower is essential. Kellyman, Salic, Robbo, they changed the game. And using them, and Turnbull as well, using them dynamically, sorry, not Robbo, Kellyman, Salic and Turnbull changed the game, and then Fish comes on and sort of cements it, if you like. Robinson obviously was fantastic from the start. But having dynamic subs is massive, and subs that can change the game. Now, this is where I wanted to talk about number 4. Salic and Robertson are legitimate goal threats, right? Let's be blunt, let's be honest. Both of these guys can score goals. Many will shout for them to start together, and I get it. We all love the big man, little man combos. We grew up on it if you're my age, but games are won via impacts as well. You need substitutes as well as just the 11 on the pitch. As I just said, Salic's body language was electric yesterday. He came on with that mindset, battling, absorbing contact, getting stuck in. Exactly what you need when you're up against it. Robbo is in a rich vein of scoring form. We know when he's in that form, you got to play him because he scores goals. His link-up has improved massively this year. Look, I don't think he's perfect. There's certain things which I think he could do better, but if he's scoring goals, I don't give a shit. When the team plays with pace, with tempo, Callum Robinson becomes lethal because he's able to get him behind, and he is a finisher. Now the challenge. If you want them both to score goals and you want them both on the pitch, how do you structure the midfield to accommodate them? But that they're still contributing goals. City will win more than they lose, I think, is ultimately where it would be. But I want to just stop there a minute. In the comments, let me know, right? If you're one of the people who wants to see them play as a 2, what midfield 2 are you selecting to make sure we don't get overrun or whatever in a 4-4-2? Because that's ultimately why teams don't play 4-4-2 these days, because they get overrun in the midfield. Now, it's easier to do when you're chasing a game because there's more gaps anyway, naturally, but it's definitely a challenge, right? Yusuf Salic is among Cardiff's most efficient goal contributors as well, with goals, assists and stuff, and Robinson the same. These are 2 out and out goal scorers, but I just think if they both start, who's on the bench to really change it from a goal scoring perspective. Perhaps you could say, well, you've got Kellyman and Isaac Davis maybe who could be on the bench and come off, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I think you might have to just kind of interchange them. I really don't know. I'm open to suggestions on that because I do like 4-4-2, but the midfield worries me a little bit against certain teams. Maybe it's one where you can do it against certain teams, but other teams you can't. Like a team like Burton, maybe that was the game to do it, where they're just going to sit in, and you can perhaps try and be a bit more direct to get in and them around the box. But yeah, interesting. Hit me up in the comments, and maybe I could, maybe we'll cook a little video about that, looking at that. But number 5, no surprise, I don't think. Look, Dylan Lawler, the cooler head in the absolute chaos that was our defending. No shock for those who regularly watch. Like, I rate Dylan Lawler, right? He's 19, not even 20 yet, but he showed real poise and ball control, decision making. But it was his leadership which struck me. Constantly talking to his teammates, even picking up and talking to Osho after one of a few mistakes, shall we say, in a match where there was stress and anxiety beyond belief. You've just got this 19-year-old lad who's just stood amongst it and just doesn't seem to be phased. And look, whilst the more experienced Gabriel Osho had a night he will want to forget, Dylan Lawler bailed him out, bailed Joe Bagan out on multiple occasions with his defensive reading of the game, last-ditch tackles. His defensive stats and metrics are like unreal for yesterday. We'll discuss them more tonight. But yeah, like I said, interceptions, blocks, clearances, his goal, woo, quality. Drives into the space, keeps it under control, just keeps going, and then kills it in the corner. But the moment which struck me about that, right, is funny. He's on the halfway line. He's facing his keeper. There's 2 Leyton Orient forwards who are pressing him. It's 2v1. They are thinking, right, if we get the ball now, we are in on the keeper. Dylan Lawler doesn't want to go back to the keeper because we're chasing the game. Or we're not chasing the game, but we're trying to win the game at that point. And he does a little step over, turn, and then step to the right between the two of them, and he's left them for dead. And I was just like, wow. This was before he scored to finish it into a goal. I was just like, geez, like this kid is just unreal. And I get it, people don't want to put too much pressure on him and play him up, but like you can only say what you see. Like, he's just unreal. His ability to not feel the pressure is just insane. Thought he was excellent defensively, excellent on the ball, and he obviously scores a great goal. He's already become irreplaceable for me in this setup. Calm, he talks to his teammates, he's guided them. It was a real mature performance. It was a performance of a leader, and I said before, I think he'll have an appearance as captain of Cardiff before the end of the season. I still think that, but we got to get Will Fisher there alongside him just before anything else. But before I close, a few necessary side notes, I guess. We have to find a way to give Ruben, Ryan Wintle and Joel Bagan a rest. They're playing every minute of every game almost. Physically or mentally, they all look a bit jaded and a bit tired. If you don't rest them, you're going to end up losing them to injury, or their form's going to fall off a cliff. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge for the manager, but he's got to find a way. Now, with Kellyman looking really sharp, I would like to see Kellyman start in the 10 on Tuesday, but it really does depend on what we've got available, because there's these stupid rules in the EFL Trophy about who's got to play, so we're going to have to go relatively strong. But we also don't have all our players available, depending if they can come to any agreements with the Welsh FA, which hopefully they can. Nathan Trott, again, delivered an absolute elite performance. He is the rock. Like, Leyton Orient could have scored 5 or 6 yesterday, but if not for him, he made a couple of great one-on-one saves. There's one in the second half where he dives down to the right of him, I think it is. Such power behind a shot from close range, and he gets a shot. And look, he's unlucky, right? The first goal is an Osh open pass back. It's a mistake. The keeper can't really do much about that. The second goal takes 2 deflections on the way past him. So, like, that goal that's the only goal I would class as a little bit unlucky. Although I felt we should have just got rid of it. We're trying to be a bit too clever sometimes on the edge of our box. The third goal, you've just got to say it's a good goal. Like, Yes, we could have got out to him quicker. Absolutely. We could have, and we should have got out to him quicker. But the way he sets it out and it curls from way wide of the post and it back in, I think even if you get people out to him, it probably goes around them because of the arch of it. It was a great goal from Ballard. You've got to just hold your hands up sometimes, as hard as it is. But Nathan Trott was absolutely unreal. Gabriel Osho, look, it's a rough day. I said earlier this week, somewhat controversially it appears on Twitter, that I feel that he'd be good in the 6. I still stand by it. I actually think it more now than I did before the game. Like, I think he looks like he could do a real good job in the 6. Everyone has an off day. You got to remember, the last game he played for us, he was excellent. Everyone has an off day, and he just... Yeah, it's a conversation for another time, I guess, but he made costly errors. But credit to him, right? And some people won't like this, right? One of the things I actually really like about him is that he plays football with a smile on his face. No matter what the situation, he's enjoying the experience. I got a lot of time for that. Like, life is short. This career is short. Enjoy it. Doesn't mean you don't care. He stuck with it. And in the end, he made a couple of good late blocks. So, you know, a weaker mentality might have just folded. The overall mentality shown by Cardiff was exactly what promotion campaigns are built on. To find a way to win on an off day. Never quit, never give up, fight through adversity. Ronan Capacchio typified that. He had a really tricky first half, got a dodgy yellow card for a handball, which meant he couldn't put in any challenges. Yeah, in the second half, he put in an absolute attacking fullback masterclass. Absolutely superb. Credit to Joel Bagan, mind, as well. Had a poor game, but still stuck at it defensively. And in the second half, you know, when it opened up a bit and we're pushing on, he was good going forward. It was just his passing in his own half. But I think he's mentally knackered and he needs a break. Chris Willock was quality. Kellyman was quality. They combined so well, the wingers and the fullbacks. And when things clicked, we looked real good. It's got to be said. It's a young squad developing its identity. We got to bear with it a little bit. But I do see a team with real quality and fight. A manager who's tactically astute. He's flexible. He's not dogmatically wedded to one system or one way of playing. He has a way of playing that he likes, but he's not like, that's the way it's got to be played at all costs. And ultimately, it's about winning points, not about your philosophy. 3 at the back, 5 at the back, 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3. Doesn't matter. You play what you need to do, and you get it to get the job done. And in fact, having all those different systems in your toolbox is a strength, not a weakness. And in closing, like, this club, Jesus, we are truly in the big balls Murphy era. It's going to be stressful, but man, oh man, if they do drive me to an early grave, I'm going to go out with a smile on my face, because it is fun. Because when we click, we are a joy to watch. The 5 things we learned from Cardiff: 4, Leyton Orient 3, a crazy game. I'll be back tonight with the breakdown, and we'll have a real deep dive into individual performances and tactics and the rest of it, where it went right, where it went wrong, how we got back into the game, the stats, all that sort of stuff. Please do join me for that. Obviously it's live, so we get involved in the comments. We have a good old chinwag on a Sunday night. I'm going to watch my son. We got a game today, so I'll be back later on. But please like, share, subscribe, drop a comment, all these things which really help us with the algorithm on YouTube and that, which is always a massive challenge. And let me know in the comments what was good for you, what was bad. I think Gabriel Osho has to play on Tuesday, but I'll talk about that a little bit more tonight. I'm hoping to get a phone call in the next hour or so regarding a certain midfielder who's not been playing for us. See if I can get some sort of clarity on what's going on with that. But hopefully, if I do get that call, which I'm expecting, then I'll hopefully be able to share some bits and pieces from that later on as well. So stick with it, keep the faith. I will see you probably 8:15, because I'm going to be back late, so be a bit later. But if not, if I'm back in time, I'll try and do it for 8 o'clock. But yeah, as always, keep the faith, and I'll see you in a bit. Nice one.
This channel is powered by an incredible membership community on Cardiff City World and patreon.com/AcePodcastNation. Becoming a member unlocks exclusive rewards from early access to live event tickets, bonus content, and even the occasional inside transfer scoop when we get it. But more importantly, it allows us to bring you top quality Cardiff City content 7 days a week. Across those 7 days, we're talking match previews, exclusive interviews, instant match reactions, the breakdown podcast, tactical deep dives, the spotlight series, Bluebirds Rewind, Academy Focus, and just so much more. Led by myself, backed by an army of passionate Cardiff City fans, this is content created by fans for fans, balanced, professional, and 100% all about the club we all love. If you enjoy what we do, then join the community today and support what we are doing as we help to keep Cardiff City World flying high.